as we dig into the Kadenze approach to online learning. So far in this discussion with Brad Haseman, the Executive Vice President of Kadenze, Inc., we have talked about 4 effects that our instructional designers seek to create in the learning moment for our learners. So Brad, so far you've introduced 4 of the 8 effects: creation, narrative, fictional reality, and the reflection effect. What are you going to be talking about today?
Well, what I'd like to do today is actually look at 3 more effects. And the first 2 today are what we understand to be the emergence effect and the coherence effect. Let me take the emergence effect first. All creative and artful practice is actually complex, and it's very seldom ever formula driven. So what we need in our learners and in our learning design is for learners to understand that meaning and deep understanding often comes gently through time and patient deliberation. And all artists, for instance, know this. You need to give time for the media you're working with to work on you as well as you on it. And of course, what's interesting about this emergence effect is that it often seems at odds with a lot of online learning theory, which has it that, well, no, every learning step has to be broken into a little part, and until you've learned that part, you don't go on to that part, and it's all has to be predictable and structured and inevitable. And there's nothing wrong with that in learning certain things. So it's not about that that's inappropriate, it's just insufficient. Often necessary, but insufficient. So part of the energizing force of this Kadenze emergence effect is to allow students to deal with the ambiguity, the uncertainty of their professional practice, and actually to trust that practice. And this is an extraordinarily important thing for a learner to actually receive some sense of security about. The other interesting thing about emergence is that while things are emerging for the learner through fragments, through bits that are joined up but not complete, it is also important that there is a sense of what the whole is. And the whole of something, what is it I'm gaining an understanding of? And more importantly, how do I take care of that whole? Taking care of the whole action, whether it's in music, it's in theatre, drama, all the digital arts. How do I take care of the whole? And that leads to the second, the coherence effect. So the tension then is between these 2 effects. The emergence effects, where you're patiently holding on, and as an instructor, you're deliberately, you may even be deliberately slowing people down and withholding. But on the other hand, the striving for coherence. And both of these have to be held in balance. And coherence comes, obviously narrative, which we mentioned earlier, is one way of building coherence. But another way is that non-linear approach, where it may be that certain exercises and activities create certain information, and it's only when you've engaged with them that the whole becomes clear. And understanding that and being strong and not seeing that every learning encounter has to be a graduated step of delivery followed by some sort of quiz to prove that you know it, there are other dynamics to learning other than that one. And of course, this leads to the next and the third effect I want to talk about today, which is what we call the artistic redundancy effect. Now, what's that? Now, for those people who know the online learning world, you'll know that there's this rule about redundancy. You need to strip away anything that's irrelevant, anything that's a deviation, and anything that's not efficient in the 4-minute video you make for your students. And look, I kind of get that, and of course that's true, but it's also not true in the sense that when we look at the way people engage, often the things that are deemed to be imperfect as moments of communication in the online world actually may not be imperfect at all. We for instance, we enjoy humour. We enjoy people musing. We are challenged when somebody answers a question with a question, not the answer to the question. We need to be left in the dark at times. We need to provide relief. We need to quip. We need to be self-deprecating as instructors as well as self-glossing. So, you know, these communicative traits, in my view, or in certainly what I'm seeing in the Kadenze programs, instructors are using them to strengthen engagement, not to irritate or, you know, oh, this video's gone on 30 seconds too long. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah. I think the dialogue that you can kind of have through the screen almost with the student can be a very valuable thing.
Yes.
You know, taking moments to sort of pause and question something or ponder an idea that's been presented.
Absolutely. And inferring things, reminding people of things, reminding back, predicting forwards, all of these things actually strengthen the online communication, provided they're well done and they're thoughtfully applied. But they can strengthen, and they don't necessarily need eradicating as flaws in the presentation. So they're the three effects for this session: the emergence effect, the coherence effect, and the artistic redundancy effect.